And here's how the world works. The world will pay you, at least the economy that we're in, if you specialize in something that brings value to the marketplace. I'm not attached to the bigger and bigger toys because I've realized all that stuff has a short span of satisfaction. Whether you get a new car, a new yacht, new house, within 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, it'll become a part of your life. The question you're going to ask at the end of it is like, okay, what now? The topic today is around purpose. And it's actually it's one of those paradoxical topics that's easy to go towards, but it's also very complex to answer. And my role is not to get really, the point of this training is not you will find your purpose at the end of this. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. I don't know. But it's actually getting you to just getting you to start thinking about purpose in maybe a couple of different ways, or maybe similar ways that you have been thinking about, but going deeper a little bit in those areas. And also it's sort of a preparation for our group coaching session on Thursday as well, because we're going to go much deeper. And one of the things that I've learned is it's less important to in these kind of questions around purpose, it's less important to know the answers. It's much more important to ask better questions, just like a lot of parts of our life. So I'm going to end this session with giving you a question to ponder and think about. But throughout, I'm going to go into how I look at purpose and how I've been able to help people think about purpose differently and what that means. What is the effect of it, positive or negative? So I'll start off with a simple quote. We'll share that. We'll talk about that on the Thursday session as well. And I love this. It's the purpose of your life is a life of purpose. And I'll and really think about this. The purpose of your life is a life of purpose. A lot of people make it too big because I don't know the purpose I'm here for. From a religious point of view, a lot of people might say, I don't know what God wants from me. What is my purpose from God, or what is my universal purpose? Like these bigger, I think that could be a lifelong journey. That could be a journey or adventure you're on. But I think a more important question is to start to think about purpose more, so you can ask better question around yourself. And the question is, why is it important? Because if you don't know why it's important, then you're not going to go towards it. And here's what I've seen, and I'll start with my own story. So a few years ago, the journey I was on as a young man, and again, every young man or woman goes through their process of growth and development. But when I was in my early 20s, I had no inkling of what that purpose was. And I grew up in a moderate religious family, which meant that I had been exposed to theology, I had been exposed to God and religion, and I didn't know how to make sense of it, to be honest. And to be honest, it wasn't that helpful either. I think it was helpful that I was introduced to it, but a lot of my questions were not answered by that. And the reason had to do with a lot of how I was. Now, at that time, if you can look back to you being a young adult or teenager, you know that there are a lot more questions than answers. And so, but most people, for example, most teenagers and most adults are not taught to explore those questions. And I think that's where the problem arises, because I don't think people do enough work to even figure out to even go towards this idea of understanding their purpose. Because upfront they're told that it's nobody can tell you what your purpose is. Well, maybe not, but the questioning process is actually really important. And when I went towards that journey, it actually helped me go towards a path. It's not like I found my purpose in the next couple of years, but it helped create it started to create like this jigsaw puzzle where I was starting to put pieces of the puzzle together about why I'm here, what is important to me, what am I meant to be doing, or what do I want to do, at least if I don't believe in destiny, whatever the case is. And it wasn't a random puzzle. It was a very specific puzzle connected to my life. So I started to ask questions about my past. And to be honest, more importantly, I started to find teachers and guides, whether those were books or my coaches or mentors, who would ask me this question: why do you think you were born in the family that you were born? Why did you react differently to your family upbringing versus another person? Why did you pick this path? Why was this important to you? And that a lot of times when we talk about purpose, the question of why is important. And then the more I asked these questions, the more it helped me understand that almost everything that I was doing had nothing to do with what I really wanted in my life. And that's the crux of it, and this is the challenge. So almost every client, on average, my clients are in their between 40s and 50s. That's the about average, and that's the age I'm in right now. And the biggest challenge, by far the biggest challenge, and sometimes they can articulate this, a lot of times they cannot, is that they're just doing a bunch of stuff. It feels a lot like this. They're taking this dart and throwing it into darkness and hoping that one of these darts hit the mark. And usually these darts are like these darts are goals. And what are their goals based on? The goals are based on either what they've been taught to set goals around, or if they've gone frustrated around that. For example, if I meet investors or entrepreneurs, like, you know what, I tried the W2 process, it did not work, I hate it, I'm going to start this entrepreneurial journey. And their hope is that if they go this direction, they will find their life will be better. And here's my take, and it might or might not be. And I think that the real question is that connected to what matters to you? And I've asked this question in a lot of events that I've talked in, whether it's virtual or in person. And I think Tony Robbins asks a version of this question when he gets people to rate themselves around how meaningful their life is to them, how purposeful or how meaningful their life is to them. And most people will kind of rate themselves around 4 or 5. And he calls that the no man's land. It's like you don't have enough pain to change anything, and you don't have enough motivation to change anything. You're like kind of stuck in a limbo. It's like the worst place to be in. And I work with high performers most of the time. When I ask them this question, they're kind of one notch up. They're like between 5 or 6. So they're like 50 to 60% of what they do is important to them. It's meaningful to them, but about a good 40 to 50% is not. And that is the thing. And here's what happens. And here's why the purpose piece is so important. When 40 to 50% of your life is not meaningful to you, and it's based on some obligation that you have signed up towards consciously or subconsciously that you think you have to fulfill. Now, I'm not saying you won't have obligations or you won't have responsibilities, but a lot of the times we make up crap in our head based on other people's ideas or our society's ideas or all kinds of things that we've heard out in the world. And then somehow, just to simplify the process, once in a while, somebody comes in front of us like, I want a life like that person. And then that creates a model for us. Is like, okay, well, can I build a life like this guy? Looks like he has his shit together, or she has her shit together. Let me see if I can follow this person. The problem is that you don't know enough about that person's life, so you kind of copy the surface. And that's the challenge that a lot of entrepreneurs and investors and those kind of people have, is because you want to create a life of freedom, but you actually don't know what your freedom is. You haven't actually specifically defined what freedom means to you, because it could mean different things. And by the way, freedom could be an analogy to purpose, because most people, when they're looking to go towards entrepreneurial life, they're looking towards some kind of freedom. So they look at somebody, well, this person looks pretty free on the surface, but have you dug in a little bit deeper? And just because the surface is there doesn't mean that does that feel aligned with you. And those deeper questions are not really asked in the process. And usually, somehow in that process of looking at other people and trying to figure out what you want to do, especially if you're in your 40s and 50s, you have the anxiety of, well, is it too late for me? And some people conclude that it's too late for me. I got to just do what I got to do. I got to provide for my family, do all kinds of stuff. Or some people will say, it's like, maybe it's not too late for me. Let me follow along and copy this person. They will do that for another 5 to 10 years. And then they're back to the same exact spot. And the same exact spot is that, oh shit, this didn't work either. I have the business, I have the investments, I have all this stuff, but I still feel exactly like that person 5 years ago. And then they do something else. They're like, well, maybe I need to find happiness. I think it's the wrong question to ask. It's very hard. For most people, they don't even know what they mean when they ask for happiness. They think it's about being happy, like haha, laughing. But when like, for example, from spiritual traditions or spiritual teachers, when they talk about happiness, they're not talking about happiness in the emotional sense. They're talking about a deeper sense of peace. And that usually connects to a set of purpose, a bigger picture of what matters to you. And in your day-to-day life, you're doing things that aligns with that bigger picture. This is one of the reasons why I get people to start thinking about a vision for their life. And this is also another reason why I get them to start putting pieces of their past together a lot of times. So, and the idea is simple, that you go back to your past and start to figure out what felt aligned with you on that path. Happiness is not the answer, because you could be on your path to purpose and you could be in pain and you'll be fine. This is why you look at some leaders in the past, they were struggling, they were being attacked, they were being persecuted, but they were on their, like, they were going at it. There's a famous story of, I think, Nelson Mandela. He was asked, is like, how do you feel about being in jail after what he had done, what he had gone through? He's like, are you kidding? I'm so excited. He's like, why are you excited? That's a weird thing to say when you're in jail. It's like, either what I started will create a revolution out in the world, in my country, and that would fulfill my purpose of why I did this, and that was so important to me, and I'd be deeply happy and in bliss with what I have done, or I'll get out and lead my people. Either way, to them, didn't matter, because he was living his purpose. It didn't matter if he did it from a jail cell or he did it out in the world. But most people cannot answer in that way, and I'm not even saying that that should be your aim. I'm saying the starting point is to ask the question, what would make my life more meaningful? Because it will change the way you do things. It will change the way that you connect with people. It will change the way that you move forward. It will change your energy, which means that in the hardest of times, you're going to push yourself through. You won't look for emotions of happiness or sadness. To be honest, they will all look like things you need to work through and experience. And ultimately, you'll be like, how does this feel aligned with my path? I only have a few years. By the way, just for context, on average, you have about 4,000 weeks in your life, empirical average. So that cumulates to about 83 years, something like that. That's the average age. So if you're in your 40s, 50s, you have about half of that, maybe less. And if you cut out all the sleeping time and everything else, you don't have that many weeks left. And this is why when people figure that, when they see that I need to do the thing that matters to me now, they're like, I don't have any time. I don't have time for drama. I don't have time for this business. I don't have time for this opportunity. I don't have time to be upset about this. I don't have time for this weird thing to think through that has nothing to do with me. I need to go towards the thing that matters to me. And so the positive aspects of it is, as soon as you begin to ask these questions, it starts to connect with a different part of you. And it starts with a little flame inside of you. And that's how I want you to picture it, a little flame. In the beginning, it's very dim, but over time, it starts to get brighter and brighter and brighter. And that flame is, you can call it your intuition, your sense of knowing, you can call it whatever you want, but it connects to that reason why you're here. And again, all this with the assumption, and I want to make sure I clarify my bias, my assumption here is that there is an intelligence at work in this whole process. You have an intelligence system. We live in an intelligence system. So if you think that the world is random, a lot of this stuff will not apply to you. And let's say you think that everything is random, everything is by chance. I want you to dig a little bit deeper into that, because most people, when they say that, it's a way to get away from responsibility. It's a way to avoid a path that might be hard. It's a way to go towards things. Oh, things are random. It has nothing to do with my choices. And I would say dig deeper in there. I'm speaking to those who think that there is some kind of intelligence outside and within them. And if there is intelligence, there's a guiding system. And for most of us, we haven't connected to that guidance system internally, which means that we haven't connected to that flame. And unfortunately, our school system, the education system, our families, most of them don't connect us to that. Think about it. When we watch our parents, for example, or people around us, how do they live their lives? Usually mediocre lives, usually trying to survive, usually trying to do the things that they have to do. That's the model we see in our families on average. How are we taught to look at the future in school system? Well, what do they do? At least this is what I remember. They would give you charts of, oh, this profession pays this much on average, this profession pays this much. Figure out which one works well. And then one level up from that, you will go talk to the counselor. The counselor will assess, well, these are your skill sets. These are the things that you're interested in, maybe, maybe not. But you know what? If it's something you're interested in that doesn't fit in that chart, or you get paid really low, they're like, no, don't go towards that. Because that's not practical. And other people will advise you exactly the same. But here's the thing I want you to think about is that the things that you're interested in are the things that nobody can beat you in life. And those are the things that will be more sustainable for you. By the way, it's not just related to profession. If you're a kind of person who wants to do certain things and your life partner accepts and supports those things in your personal life, you will feel enlivened by that. But if they don't, you'll feel like you're shrinking. If you're in a workplace where you're interested in the thing that you're doing, you will grow within there. You will blossom naturally. That's on the work side. Same thing with the relationships. If you're connected to people that push that side of you that wants to come alive, you will want to be around those friends a lot, or community a lot. And so all this to say that the most important thing, I'd say one of the most important questions is to ask yourself, are the things in my life meaningful to me on a scale of 1 to 10? And I'm a little bit extreme in this area. I want you to at least 98 to 100% of your life should be meaningful to you. And if it's not, then your job is to start dropping things that are not. Some of them you have to plan out for. That could be a job. That some of them you have to refine. That could be a relationship. Some of them are your own thought processes and the way that you react to the world. Sometimes it's the place you live in, the city or the environment you live in. Sometimes it's you're not around the right people. You're basically shedding things that doesn't feel aligned with your path. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't mean that you leave everything that's around you. Maybe it'll come to that. I don't know. I cannot speak to your path. For me, in my experience, I have left a few people on my path, but I've also started to build better relationships with other people. Some of those are in my family and friend circle. Some of those are outside. I've also started to do things that feel aligned with the path that I'm on. And the effect of it is this: when I wake up Monday mornings, I'm excited. When I go to the middle of the week, I'm excited. When I'm in the weekend, I'm excited. When I'm having an average boring week, I'm looking forward to whatever is coming up. When I'm dealing with challenges, I associate that I'm meant to go through that. I'm meant to find something within there because this is my path. I've chosen to be on it. When I'm going on vacation, I'm excited. If I have struggles on vacation, I'm okay with that because I'm meant to see something. And if you sit there and say, well, you're just being delusional. Well, even if I'm being delusional, that's actually very helpful for me. But I don't think I'm being delusional. The more I've connected to a path that matters to me, and the more I've gotten my clients to connect to it, everything changes. Their productivity skyrockets, their energy skyrockets, their relationships shift. The places they go to, on average, they'll be like, well, I need to change states. I want to go to this place. The workplace, either they change the way that they work or they shift their work. They start to look at their internal world differently, start to not pay attention to thoughts that put them down, or they start to get rid of thoughts that doesn't feel aligned with their path. They start to deal with emotions and past experiences that don't feel aligned with them. They start to make sense of their story in a very different way. It starts to completely shift the direction that they're going in. So your tangible experience starts to shift. And my hope is, as you start to think about purpose, and you were thinking about it in two ways, either one is in smaller way, become aware in the present moment how meaningful is every moment in your life, whether that was an interaction with a loved one, or the work that you're doing, or the thing that you're going towards. Even if you're going through the challenging experiences in your life, how do you view that? What's your lens of that? Is that something like, I don't know why I'm going through this, or it's like, you know what, I'm looking for a lesson here. I'm looking for why I'm going through this. I'm looking for why I'm going through this. I'm looking to experience because this is part of my path. Start to pay closer attention to your life. If you start to notice a pattern that, no, this is not my life, this is somebody else's life that I've created, it's time to change. It's time to bring about bunch changes. And then on the bigger level, you start to look at your vision, you start to look at your past story, you start to look at it, how does all this add up? Why did I do the things that I do? Why did I go through the kind of life that I went? Why do I want the things that I want? And am I clear about the things that I want? When you start to make sense of that stuff, a clarity develops, and then you start to assess your life based on what truly matters to you. And that's where purpose starts to come in. And I look at it as an experiential thing. It's not a conceptual thing. You start to feel more alive. You start to feel more engaged in your life. You start to feel like you're going towards something that matters to you. You start to feel like there's a sense of mission that you have. This is why mission is such a powerful thing in military, for example. Why do they instill so much mission in these soldiers? They instill it because they know that mission works. Why does religion talk about purpose so much? Because it works. Now, the question is, the thing is, they use it as a tool to push people in wrong or right direction, whatever you want to call it. But you can actually use that as a way to make your life better. And the other part of it is you can actually start to pay attention to other people as a leader. You will notice that there are certain people, for example, when I watch my kids, my older child is very intellectual by nature. She's a lot like me. She's always in the world of ideas. She wants to read a book constantly. She wants to learn more. She has 100 million questions. My younger daughter, she's in the world of art. She's constantly singing. Like, you start to pay attention to that. And my role is to nurture the things that matter to them as a parent, or at least create an environment that nurtures that stuff. And I don't care. They can go at some point, get a job, whatever, but you don't lose those things that you feel connected to from then on. And then you amplify that. And here's how the world works. The world will pay you, at least the economy that we're in, if you specialize in something that brings value to the marketplace. And in the words of Naval Ravikant, nobody can beat you in what you're good at, what is authentic to you. And he also said, do something in life that feels like play to you and looks like work to others. So what could you do in the hours of your day that feels like play to you and work to others? By the way, play can be a very challenging thing too. So play is not always happy, but you could be challenged by that play. Imagine playing a video game or a board game or any kind of game or a golf game. It can be incredibly challenging, but you lose time in that process. And most people look at these things as childish things. They're not. They can be just practical. By the way, you contributing out in the world. We look at contribution as a altruistic thing, but I would even say, and Brendon Burchard agrees with me with his book when he talked about it in The Charge, that if your contribution matters in the world, you will do more of it. For example, I look at my work to be a part of my contribution. I do this when I'm getting paid or not getting paid. I do this in my personal life and professional life. Why? Because I feel like this is my gift. I need to share it. Now, why do I get paid by this? Because what the hell else am I going to do? I'd rather people pay me for this so I don't do anything else and I can just have fun doing this and I can help more people with it and I keep amplifying that. I think that's smart. Find something that matters to you, that you love, that you want to learn, that you have an obsession to learn more and more about, and do more of that. And that takes you closer and closer to purpose. Find people that amplify your purpose. Get around people that are going towards their purpose. You will start to see that your whole energy changes in life. And I promise that at the end, I'll leave you with this question. Not only ask yourself this question, but start asking other people this question. What would you do if you had $100 million in your bank account? How would you change your life? If you had $100 million in your bank account, you opened it, you had 100 million, you could spend that on anything, invest it on you. How would your life change in the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? Start answering that question. If you answer that question, this is actually a test I do even with, sometimes I'll ask couples who are having struggles with their partner. I'll ask them, like, what would you do if you had $100 million? Would you still stay with this partner or not? The scariest answer I get is like, I'm taking off. I'm like, you're with this person for the wrong reasons. For one thing, of course, they need to dig deeper in there, but same thing with your work. If you say that if I have $100 million, I'm going to take off, wrong field. If I had $100 million, I wouldn't have anything to do with these people. Wrong place you're in. If I had $100 million, I wouldn't live in this place. Get out of that place as soon as possible. So, and so if I had, I'll answer that question right now for you. And all these say, if I had $100 million right now, I'll do the same thing, but bigger. I'll just have more money to do the same exact thing. I won't change my profession at all. What would I do in my relationships? I'll help them create better lives. I'll get them to do different things. I'll have more time on my hands to do that. What would I do with the place? I'll do exactly what I'm doing. I'll live between different places. I might do a few extra things, but that's about it. My life will not significantly change because I'm living my life, whether I have 10 million, 100 million, or 10,000. It's the same exact thing. I'm not attached to the bigger and bigger toys because I've realized all that stuff has a short span of satisfaction. Whether you get a new car, a new yacht, new house, within 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, it will become part of your life. The question you're going to ask at the end of it is like, okay, what now? And most people go to the next shiny thing. And you can play that game for a long time and you will keep feeling empty and empty and empty. But when you fill your life with purpose, no matter what you have, it feels fulfilling. That's why we call it fulfilling, because you don't feel empty with it. So I'll leave it at that. And we're going to go much deeper into this on the group coaching session, because I'll get you to think about it in a deeper way. We'll have discussions around and you'll find out how you can work through this for yourself. And the key is asking yourself better questions around this, going on an adventure to figure out, what does it mean for you to live a meaningful life in your day-to-day life? What does it mean to go towards the bigger purpose? If you enjoyed that video, make sure you click on this video or this video. It will serve you to move your growth journey forward. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.